assets become a very, very important factor for all of us in terms of analyzing it. Now, they portray the financial effects of transaction and other events by grouping them. So we will be looking into the assets, liabilities, and I have committed to the banks, I have committed to my shareholders and to my people. When we talk about assets and liabilities which might be classified, when you talk about a hire purchase, when you talk about leasing, or when you talk about asset renovation. Good morning and welcome to the session 4 in Unit 2 of IFRS, that is the International Financial Reporting Standards, and we are going to see about the elements of the financial markets. That is, the elements of financial statements are very, very important in terms of understanding how they make a difference to the decision maker. Now, moving forward, let me first introduce you to the financial statements altogether. Now, they portray the financial effects of transaction and other events by grouping them into broad classes according to their economic characteristics. So, something really fantastic enough to understand. Why? Because if you look here, they portray the financial effects, the effects that are being caused in terms of the transaction factor, events, by grouping them. You know, when we start grouping it all together into broad classes, that is, we are going to put them under broad segmentation altogether in order to understand the various characteristics and interpretation of the financial statement. Now, these broad classes are termed by the elements of financial statement. So they are being again classified, redefined by the financial statements, and these elements directly relate to the measurement of financial position in the balance sheet, that is in forms of assets and liability. So financial statements on the whole are going to be classified in categories of assets and liabilities, and after all, we are also going to put the word equity also. So this is going to portray the financial health of the company, followed by the elements directly relate to the measurement of performance, that is in terms of statement of profit and loss, are in income and that of expenses. The cash flow statement usually reflects elements of statements of profit and loss and the changes that happens in the balance sheet. Accordingly, this framework will identify that no new elements are unique to this statement. So what is more important here is that each and every term that is being explained in the financial statement are going to be of a great value, of a great stature altogether. We are not going to leave any element unclassified. We are going to take each and every element, classify into the broad subheadings, put it together so that at any given point of time, we are able to understand, analyze the effect of that particular event, effect of that particular subheading in terms of the balance sheet. Now, moving forward, let's start with the profit and loss statement altogether. The presentation of these elements in the balance sheet, in the statement of profit loss, leads to the process of subclassification. For example, when we talk about assets and liabilities which might be classified by their nature and function of the business enterprise in order to display the information that is being told, which is used for the purpose of economic decision making. So when we talk about profit and loss, it is very, very common for all of us. Why? Because this is the statement that is going to apparently show about the company's performance at any given point of time. Now, for this, what we try to do here is the assets and liabilities are going to be classified in such a manner that all of these assets and liabilities are going to show some nature, some importance in terms of the functionality altogether. So that's where the word profit and loss comes into picture. What we are interested here to see here is that the nature of the business enterprise, how they are working. What are all the functionalities that we are able to see? How does each and every classification of the assets, of the liabilities have been clearly told in the system, so that we will be able to decipher a meaningful information altogether. Followed by the financial position. What is the financial position that we are looking into? So we will be looking into the assets, liabilities and equity. These are the three factors that we are going to measure directly from the financial statement. So when we are going to measure it, these are defined as follows. An asset is a resource controlled by the enterprise as a result of past events of which the future economic benefits are going to flow. So for me, asset is an investment. That means today I have invested in a plant, in a machinery, in a building, in an infrastructural facility. The reason is that using that facility, using that investment, that will give me the return in terms of income after few years. So that is why I would always say that the asset is a very, very important part that is going to be controlled and the result of the past events of which the future economic benefits are going to be reaped by me. Now, a liability is a present obligation for the enterprise. So at present, it might be a liability. Tomorrow, the same liability might get converted as an asset or as an advantageous position for me. But currently, when I define liability, it is a current obligation for me, which I have to repay back to my investors. So that is expected out of an outflow of the enterprise by embodying the economic resources. So for example, right now, cost of capital, that becomes a liability for me. But then at the end of 1 year, 2 years or 3 years, I would be able to repay back the money to my investors by making profit. Now, equity is the residual interest in assets of the enterprise after deducing all its liabilities. So what is equity? It's an equal amount of shares that is being divided on the parts of the company, which is going to be invested by the investor. So we are going to see it as a part of the interest in terms of assets after deducting all the liabilities from it. Now, moving forward, the financial position will always talk about the asset and the liability able to identify in terms of feature, but they do not attempt to specify the criteria that need to be met before they are recognized in the balance sheet. Thus, the definition comes in terms of the recognition factor is not completed. So that is why we always say that assets and liabilities need to be classified and defined clearly. I can just say that this is an asset, this is a liability for me. But then when I'm going to classify the asset and liability, if I'm going to look into from a micro level detail, trying to make myself understand the importance of asset, the importance of liability coming into picture, then I'm going to say that the asset and liability will have an important factor. They will have their own impact, they'll have their own value altogether. Followed by the financial position in terms of assessing whether an item meets the definition of asset, liability or equity. Consideration needs to be given to its underlying substance and economic reality and not merely in the legal form. So when we talk about this asset and liability, one thing that has to be kept very clearly in mind is the underlying value and not just formally writing it down in balance sheet just for the sake of formalities. That means if I have just made an entry and I said that I have followed the rules, that is not enough for an investor. What is the meaning of that asset? What is the meaning of the liability? What does it really mean to the enterprise at that given point of time? Because if I have to make an economic decision using the financial position of the company, I need to make it in all qualitative standards as far as possible. So that is why this comes into picture. Now, for example, in the case of hire purchase, the substance and the economic reality that the hire purchaser acquires benefits of the use of asset in return of returning an obligation to pay back the amount that is needed at that point of time will also attract a financial charge. Now, what is going to happen here is that in what rate are we borrowing, in what rate are we paying back, what is our collection period, how much amount the company really owns, how much amount the company has given back, all these factors will matter a lot in terms of understanding. Hence, I would say that when you talk about a hire purchase, when you talk about leasing, or when you talk about asset renovation, asset quality, all those factors are of a great importance to us, because they will tell in what factor, in what standards are we getting inside in terms of building the asset versus liability factors. Now, moving forward, let's talk about the assets by nature itself. Now, when I talk about assets are the future economic profit. So I'm not seeing it today. I might not see it tomorrow also, but I might see it 5 years or 10 years down the lane. So that is where assets become a very, very important factor for all of us in terms of analyzing it from a balance sheet standpoint. So that's why I say the future economic embodied, that's the benefit that is embodied in that, is a potential to contribute directly or indirectly to the flow of cash or cash equivalents of the enterprise. They might be productive in nature, as we are talking about the assets, or they might be one of the operating factors of the enterprise. It might also take the form of convertibility into cash or cash equivalents. If I have to make it very simple, by purchasing a land today, I can convert the same land back into cash. Today, I have invested 1 crore rupees in terms of buying a land. Tomorrow, I will be able to sell the same land and get back cash in a higher form or in a lower form. That depends on the market. But what I'm trying to say here is that you can use an asset and convert it back into cash or cash equivalent. So at any given point of time, asset is going to be a very, very important factor which is going to generate an economic value to you in the long run. So that is why it matters a lot. Followed by the alternative in terms of manufacturing process that lowers the cost of production. That is also very, very important as we are talking about it. Followed by the assets, as basically they are an enterprise that usually employs its assets to produce goods or services capable of satisfying the wants or needs of the customer, because these goods or services can satisfy these wants or needs, and customers are prepared to pay for them. Hence, they contribute to the cash flow of the enterprise. That is highly mandatory in terms of understanding. Why? Because cash itself renders a value or a service at that given point of time. So when we talk about assets as a value, as a system here, cash or any form equivalent of cash will be able to generate a service, will be able to generate a value to us at any given point, because they are the basic factor through which the transaction can happen, through which the value of the enterprise can be known. So that's why I always say, when you employ an asset into action, into productivity, that asset is going to generate some return to you in some due course of time. So by employing an asset, what is the return that we are going to see is very, very important for the company. It is not just the cash in hand every time. Cash is definitely a very, very important asset, but other forms of the asset will also matter in terms of generating value. Now, moving forward, the future economic benefits, now when we are going to see, might be in the format of single use or a combination use, or it can be exchange, or it can be used to settle a liability or distributions to the owner of the franchise. This is what the framework exactly tries to tell us. Now, what is the purpose of an asset? The purpose of an asset is fourfold. Now, when I look into asset, I look it in 4 different ways, 4 different manner altogether. The first one is that either it can be used for a single purpose, just using that particular asset, that single asset. Am I going to generate a value? The answer is yes. Or can I combine the asset with something else so that I will be able to reach greater productivity? Followed by, suppose can I use that asset to be sold by the enterprise at any point of time so that I can make a cash, or can I go for an exchange at any point of time, or will it be used for settling a liability? Now look at the forms of how asset can be done. It has an exchange value, it has a settlement value, it has a combination value, it has a productivity value. So asset in general has got a lot of features which according to the accounting standards can provide us a greater insight into the company of how they are operating and how they can operate better by the usage of the assets. Followed by, now many assets, for example plant and machinery, have a physical form. Definitely yes. However, physical form is not essential for the existence of the asset. Now hence the patents and copyrights, for examples, are assets. Its future economic benefits are expected to flow from them if they are controlled by the enterprise. Absolutely yes. Why? Because many of the assets, when we are going to look for, they are in the physical format altogether, no doubt about it, because that's how we have always understood asset. But however, physical form is not always the need or the existence. We are now going to talk about patents, service rights, or when we are going to talk about any sort of copyrights, intellectual property, even they are assets. Even those assets have got a greater value in terms of accounting. So what I mean to say here is that assets always need not exist in the form of physical existence or physical evidence only. They can also be in form of intangible resources which will also add value to the company. Followed by the liabilities factor. Why liabilities are also important? How do we look into this liability? Now liabilities, the essential character, as I've always told, is about the present obligation. Now currently I have an obligation, I have a settlement which has to be done to a particular enterprise, to a particular level altogether. So an obligation is a duty, responsibility to perform in a certain way. Now let's say that obligation is in such a manner that within next 1 month I have to repay back my dues to the bank. The obligation is in such a manner that I have to repay back an X amount of money immediately to the bank, or an X amount of money to an outstanding creditor all of a sudden. So what is happening here is that the liability is going to tell my current financial position. If the liability is pressing on the company and the liability has got a far-reaching effect in terms of performance of the company, that is definitely going to have an impact in the minds of the investors. So that's why I will always say that obligations may be legally enforced, the consequence of binding. Now, for example, the amount payable, receivable, all these factors are coming into picture in terms of understanding the liability. Now, when you start rectifying yourself from a liability standpoint, when a good business enterprise understands that they need to reduce the liability, they need to work on a better platform, on a better standard through which they will be able to create a sound enterprise, a sound global, a factor altogether for growth performance or a better business enterprise altogether, they will try to increase their asset quality and they will try to reduce the number of liabilities that is acting on the company. Moving forward, a distinction here needs to be drawn between present obligation and future commitment. Now, this is what I really wanted to discuss. Why? Because currently, when I use the word present obligation, that means to say that this is a decision that is being made by management, because currently I'm trying to face this only because there's an immediate need for me. But there is a future commitment. I have committed to the banks, I have committed to my shareholders and to my people, saying that yes, I will be paying the dividends, I will be paying the interest, I will be paying the wages, I will be paying all the necessary factors. So commitment and obligation are different. Obligation is caused because of the nature of business I'm currently involved into. Commitment is something which you have committed, which you have understood that yes, it is going to be there. for a lifelong process, for a long time purpose altogether, and you have to follow it as your business keeps growing. So that is where an obligation, where we try to say, is normally arises when the asset is delivered to the enterprise, which is into an irrevocable situation. Because I bought a computer, because I have invested in technology, because I have invested in plant, because I have invested in machinery, that is an immediate obligation for me. But I have to pay salary, I have to pay my outstanding, I have to pay my EMI, my interest is going to be a long-term commitment. That is not going to go out immediately. An obligation will be an immediate outflow of cash, but a commitment will be a long-term factor in outflow of cash for a business enterprise. Now, the other thing that we are seeing in liability is that the settlement factor, the settlement can happen either through payment of cash or transfer of asset, provision of services, replacement of that obligation, or conversion of the obligation into equity. So there are many factors, there are many ways in which you can talk about the settlement factor. Now, one of the important things is that payment of cash. By paying cash, you can settle a due. By transfer of assets, yes, you can settle a due. By provision of services, yes, you can settle a due. And by replacement of that obligation, you are replacing it by some asset quality, your conversion that of the obligation to equity, yes, you will be able to go forward and settle it all together. So that is also a methodology for you to settle the process. Followed by the liabilities result from the past transaction or from the other event. So that is why we say that the example of acquisition of goods or use of services gives rise to the trade creditors. Yes, because of usage of goods or buying of certain factors, materials and things, I am going to create a credit. But that credit is not going to stay for a long time. What people need to understand, let's say for example today L&T is a construction company. They have involved themselves in many of the credit factors where you will see that L&T has gone ahead and purchased equipment. They might have invested on land, labor and capital, but those are all on the temporary basis. As and when they keep moving forward, they will also come onto the receivable ends and they will get a lot of money back, which is in form of asset back to them. So the immediate investment in terms of paying back or paying in terms of the machinery, plant and outages, that will also be an effect on the enterprise. But in the long run, people will look into the receivable factors also. So unless and until when you see these factors in depth, you will not be able to understand the true meaning of liability. With this, I come to the end of this session. I hope and believe that all the information provided to you in this session are of a great resource and help to you. In the upcoming session, we will be talking about the balance sheet and its various components. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me on this wonderful session.